Hi guys, welcome back. In the last video, we discussed about light microscope, and today we'll be discussing the second type of microscope, that is electron microscope. We will discuss the basics of these microscope. So if you can see this picture, this is basically how an electron microscope looks like. It consists of a vacuum. So the first thing that is needed in an electron microscope is the vacuum, in which object and both lenses are placed. Here, the object that needs to be magnified and the lenses are present in a vacuum chamber. In that vacuum chamber basically consists of electrons. What does it consist of? It consists of a beam of electrons. And these beam of electrons are responsible for magnifying that image to give a magnified picture of that object. Clear? So what happens is it consists of electromagnetic lenses. If you can see in the diagram, this is our specimen, right? This is the specimen that is placed in a vacuum, and these are the lenses. The electron beam is either passed through the specimen or it is reflected through the specimen, and then it goes towards the magnified electromagnetic lenses, which will magnify the image, and that image will then be placed on a picture that will show the magnified image of that object, and its magnifying power is much larger as compared to the light microscope. So when we talk about the resolving power and the magnifying power of the electron microscope, the resolving power of the electron microscope is about 0.2 nanometer and 1 nanometer. Below this size, it won't be able to show the object clearly, right? So it is about 0.2 nanometer and 1 nanometer. Whereas when we talk about magnification, it is about 250,000 times. That is much more as compared to the light microscope. Yeah? So it is about 250,000 times. So it shows the object much clearly, and it shows the internal structure of the object much clearly when we compare it to the other type of the microscope, that is light microscope. Yeah. Now there are two types of the electron microscope, which are transmission electron microscope, and the second one is the scanning electron microscope. The difference between these two, the major difference, transmission electron microscope is used to study the internal structure of the microscopic object or the internal structure of a cell. We used to study the internal structure of a cell through the transmission electron microscope. Whereas scanning electron microscope is used to study the surface of a cell. This you can see a picture that is given through the transmission electron microscope of an animal cell. What is it? It is an animal cell, and it is showing the internal structure of the animal cell. Clear? Whereas this is the eye of a mosquito, the surface of the mosquito, that is shown through the scanning electron microscope. So the major difference between the transmission electron microscope and the scanning electron microscope is this. It will show the internal structures, whereas this will show only the surface of the cell, or the surface of an organism. How does it look like? That will be shown through the scanning electron microscope. Yeah. So this was all about the electron microscope and the light microscope. Now we will discuss that how does it lead to the formation of a theory that is known as cell theory, that basically made up the basis of the structure of cell, that how does the cell function. But before going into this, we will first learn the history that led to this development. And it started with, obviously, from the invention of a microscope by Zechariah Janssen in 1590. He invented a microscope. The first discovery was this. Then came Robert Hooke, who used his own microscope to discover a cell, right, in a cork. And he discovered cell in about 1665. Then came Leeuwenhoek, who observed number of different microorganisms, and he led to the discovery of microorganism in 1674. Then came Lamarck. He proposed importance of tissues, that what is a tissue, why do we need it. In 1809, he discovered about the importance of tissues. Then Robert Brown led to the discovery of a nucleus, that is an organelle present within the cell, in 1831. Then came Schleiden. Schleiden and Schwann, these are the two scientists who played a major role in development of a cell theory. Schleiden studied about plant tissues, whereas Schwann studied about animal tissues. Both of these scientists made cell theory actually at the end. Then came Virchow. He proposed a theory that was known as omnicellular e-cellular. What is the meaning of omnicellular e-cellular? The meaning of this, that cell arises from the pre-existing cells. Already present cells will give rise to the new cells. This is the theory that was proposed by Virchow. Then came Louis Pasteur. He proved that the idea of Virchow is correct. Yeah. So Louis Pasteur played his role in about 1862. So this was the basic history that led to the development of this theory that consists of three basic points, which are: every single organism consists of one or more than one cell. Remember, this theory is given by Schleiden and Schwann. Both of these gave us this theory. And the first postulate was that every living organism consists of one or more than one cell. Okay, so this was the first postulate of the cell theory. Second, cell is the basic unit of organism. This point was given during the cell theory, that every single living organism consists of cell, and that cell is the basic unit. Everything starts from that unit in a life. So this is the smallest living thing and it is the basic unit. And the third one that was given by Virchow, that is, cell arise only by dividing the previously existing cell. The cells which are already present in our body, they will give rise to the new cells. These were the three basic points of the Schleiden and Schwann cell theory. Yeah. So this was all about the cellular organisms, that every single organism consists of one or more cell. Cell is a basic unit of life, and already existing cell will divide and give rise to the new cell. Now, we already know there is another term that we need to discuss here, that is acellular organism or subcellular organism. Yeah? If you remember, we studied in chapter number 3, viruses, prions, viroids. These are all acellular organisms. What do you mean by this? They does not consist of cellular organization, or in other words, they do not consist of true cells in which metabolism can occur. Yeah? No functions occur within their living body or within their body. We cannot say that whether they are living or non-living. It is still doubtful, right? So these are those cells, those structures which does not have a cellular organization. They do not have the metabolism that needs to occur within the cell structure. So these are considered in the acellular or subcellular structure. Rest of the things will be placed under the cell theory, will follow this cell theory. Clear? So this was all about today's lesson. We discussed about electron microscope, and then we discussed that what is the history that led to the discovery of a cell theory. Next, we will be discussing the structures of different cell organelles and cell structures. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining. If you have got any question, let me know in the comment section. Would love to hear back from you, and subscribe to my channel, like it, share it, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining. Take care. Bye bye.